So I was sent details of your work and was really inspired by the way that you work in different architectural spaces.
Yeah, I mean, obviously graffiti artists and artists of our genre are always looking for different spaces to work in. We see cities and structures as well in cities in an entirely different way to everyday people do, and maybe differently to the architect saw it as well. A big expanse of concrete to us is a canvas. So if I'm driving somewhere on a train or something like that, wherever it is, I'm looking at a canvases. The whole world to us is a bit of a canvas, really.
Yeah.
And after the thought has popped into your head, take an image, go home, work out what you could do with it, and then maybe approach the landowner, maybe not. But these days, definitely approach the landowner and try and transform it into something else. Yeah. I mean, that's really what we're all about, is transformation of a space, of an identity of a space, transforming it into something else. Now, it might not mean that when we started, but slowly over time through the process of it, it takes on a transformative and it metamorphizes into something else.
Yeah.
For us and hopefully for the people that see it as well and experience it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it was something about the mix of media that you work in. So it's graffiti, but also projection, emulsion, and something about the event, the way you go about it, the way it's not all revealed at once. And the proposal you came to was really interesting for that. The fact you wanted to do it actually in secret and not disclose the location, and then stream it and drip feed out clues and little stings about the location. That was really interesting. What was the thinking behind that?
I mean, the thinking behind that is probably comes from myself and Remy. I'm not traditionally what you would call a graffiti artist. I don't have that background. I do paint on large-scale walls using different techniques, but my main interest and invitation to get involved with these guys is the process.
Yeah.
I'm extremely interested in the process from the inception to the creation. And I think a lot of graffiti and a lot of this type of work goes on in secret. By its very nature, it is secretive. So how can we get across that secretive concept that a lot of people might be thinking in their head, but how can then you experience and have a window into our world while we're doing it as well, to experience the creative process behind it? Streaming to me makes perfect sense, and with FutureEverything sort of remit, multimedia, it fits so perfectly with what we do.
Yeah.
And adding into that the experience that hopefully the public have had of watching us create it. Look, it's a little bit like watching paint dry, maybe if you watched it 10 hours a day. But if you can just look into it and get little tinges of actually how it works, because basically it's not something that is set in stone, this. I mean, you look here and a lot of compromise has gone into making this piece.
Sure.
We've come with designs, but compromise has happened where the wall has maybe not been quite right with the light or something like that. I want to show people how that works. And I think the creative process to me is almost more interesting than the end result. For me as an artist.
Yeah. I mean, with FutureEverything, for many years, because we've done a lot of work with artists who use kind of mobile media, digital mapping, and you've had a lot of very rich concepts about the city as a canvas, you know, and you're kind of literally doing that. But even though, there's a lot of artists who are, graffiti-based in your collective, others come from fine art and different backgrounds, this kind of use of streaming and digital media, and as you say, kind of the process, the focus on the process, so that what you see on the wall is just one aspect of the work, makes it really interesting, and it actually links it in with some of the other the festival themes, which is all around the network city, the transformation of urban space, and that's been a really interesting dynamic in the work.
I think definitely, and for us, I mean, the city is what inspires us. It really does. I mean, I'll give you an example. We did our first art fair in Berlin a couple of years ago. We were invited to quite a highbrow event in Berlin as part of Berlin Art Month, and us being the people that we are, we didn't go in with any artwork. We got on the plane with our backpacks and somewhere to stay, and we landed, drove through Berlin, rainy Berlin, and all around what we saw were fly posters, just bill posters on every single surface, every wall. That night we went out, tore down about 200, 300 different fly posters, and then reimagined a cityscape in this section of the gallery that we've been given. We sold the show out. basically. The guy who had invited us said, are you really telling me you didn't turn up with any of that work? No, what we do is we go to a place and we're inspired by not how it looks, but also what somebody before us has done to it. So they fly posted it. So there is that aspect of drinking in our inspiration from a city and from the space around us as well. Yeah. And what's really interesting for us is, I mean, we were just been talking about it this morning really with the rest of the guys, is how social media works in real life but also on the internet as well, and how the two are very, very similar, and how a city can represent a little cosmos which you can put out your message to through posters, through films. I mean, I would have liked to have done maybe some underground projection work and things like that. It's difficult to do that type of stuff these days out in the streets. The police are not so keen on it. But maybe looking at the city as arteries of information. You know, I'm a really big eavesdropper. I love listening to conversations on the next table or on the train or something like that. And I then like to often get involved in the conversation, say, oh, well, and then slide it around to what we're doing there and why you're there, because people ask, what are you doing? You're not from here. And I love the fact that social media exists in Facebook and Twitter and things like that. But if you make an effort, it marries itself up to the real world as well. And the city is just this great concentrated society which you can put your message out to.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the other thing which you mentioned there that was really interesting is how you respond to specific spaces. So when we started speaking, that straight away was like the first challenge, you know, for me. And for us as, you know, curators and commissioners was, you know, we're on the ground, we know Manchester, our festival's totally embedded in Manchester. It was how we could find an interesting space. And we started off by looking at, you know, instantly my mind went to abandoned, empty spaces. A lot of artists we work with really are keen to kind of sit outside any kind of engagement with any local agenda. They just want a clean space. So we were looking at totally abandoned spaces. We were trying to find places with some historical resonance. And then the idea came to me of the Sharp project. And I really wasn't sure how you guys would take it, because the Sharp project's, you know, really great initiative for the city. It's really from and for the independent sector, so it's got a lot of heart, but it's a city initiative, you know, and not every artist likes to engage in that. And so when I kind of run that past you, I was really interested to see your response, and I was really happy that you were keen to engage in that, because I really thought there could be a nice connection there, and that seems to have like really kind of sparked the work a little bit. And it's been great to engage with people here and have that very, very good conversation with the people in the local setting. So how did that play out for you?
I think initially, I mean, you were probably right in thinking that we had a little bit of trepidation about the project, because you do with any unfamiliar sort of space. But I think our first meeting with everybody here at the Sharp Project, for me, art and the way I do my art, and actually for all the other guys, there's a lot of emotional basis and a lot of trust you put in each other, but also in people that are helping you out. You know, we got a great vibe off you guys, fantastic. Cool. Come up to the Sharp Project for that first initial meeting, and I can tell you, when me and Remy sat down, there's a whole table of people, architects, these types of people sat around. We don't necessarily have the best sort of track record with architects and people like that. They're not so keen on us. But the spark and the desire to help us out, and also that they were on the same level with us. Creativity was sort of, I remember us taking an hour and a half to look around the space. We were like, oohing and ahhing at the space. But it was not just about, it's about really, for me, the space is amazing, and I think we've done a really good job with it. It's really about the people who work here. I mean, John has been a fantastic asset to us, and Sue and all the guys in the boot room, and Keith and Ken, all those have been amazing, and that just fires you up to get on with it. You know, because, I mean, we have in the past done commission work for people, and you know, they're a bit, it's okay, well done. And we're going at 6 o'clock, we're knocking off. You know, here, we feel like we're really cocooned in a wonderfully supportive environment. We work till 10 o'clock at night, it's fine, we'll just keep going, because you've got that driving factor. That's not just your desire to finish something; it's desire to, to integrate this into a fantastic project.
Yeah.
I wish this was in London. That's all I can say.
Tough luck. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
No, I mean, when we proposed the Shark project, as I said, we were, a little apprehensive, didn't know how it would go, but we knew there was great people behind it. And and they didn't let us down.
No.
As you say, that response and that level of engagement and that spark, I think, really set the project up beautifully.
Yeah.
And then with the and streaming the project into our venues, the other approaches more sort of viral. How do you think that's worked?
I think it's worked very well. I can tell you it's worked very well because we've had phone calls from friends all over the world who said, "I'm watching you now." So it's an easy measure. I will get the streaming statistics back from my streaming servers on Monday.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what locations have been looking at us there. We've been here, so the weird thing has been that I've been thinking, I'm going to leave here and go and look at another computer somewhere and see what it looks like and watch other people watching it.
Yeah.
And Karen sent me some photos through of other people watching the stream, and that's really fascinating to me to see how other people have reacted.
Yeah.
I did almost ask you to put a web camera hidden on top of one of the TVs where it's being streamed from to see people's reactions.
Right, yeah.
But I thought, no, that's going to be a bit too distracting. I make virals for a living, so I know how it works. But I hope that people have really picked up on it. And I purposely made all of the films very oblique. And it was to be a real voyage of discovery.
Yeah,
and if somebody had turned up on the Thursday and said, I know where you are, they could have stayed the whole week and probably painted with us because there was no way that anybody was going to find us unless you were really clued in and knew the area and knew what you were looking for.
Yeah.
One guy in London guessed where we were.
Right.
But he said, I can't make it up, so, I'm not going to tell anybody. And that was on one of our chat rooms we regularly contribute to.
Yeah.
I think he got inside information, if you ask me. So,
okay. Yeah.
But I'm hoping that type of interaction with the audience is something that we can carry forward as a group.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in interaction. We've just come out of a project in Scotland that had unexpected interaction from local people. I mean, this place is in the middle of nowhere, but bang, lo and behold, on the first day we're painting there, here's 20 people just turned up on the off chance to see us because they've heard from so-and-so in the village over so-and-so's. And, today, the first guy to turn up to see this when it was open to the public, had brought photos from Polfale, from our Ghost Village project.
Oh my
he lives
God.
locally,
Wow.
but he just happened to be up there and had heard from the local publican, who's a big supporter of ours, you've got to go and see this project.
Amazing.
So that's the type of viral nature that we're really aiming for.
Yeah.
I know from doing it for a living, it's the unconscious viral nature of any filmmaking or any viral enterprise that is what really works for people.
Yeah.
And if we can plant that seed and it just spreads and spreads and spreads. I still get emails every day about the Ghost Village. Oh, where is it? And so having a film out there and certain publications supporting us and people like you, continuing the tradition for us is really what we're all about. And there is you'll find that a lot of artists are maybe not that approachable in this genre.
Yeah.
We love being asked stuff. We might seem a bit sort of grumpy at times, but people really, really like being asked about their art, why they come to do it, and what their inspiration is.
Yeah. Well, for us as a festival, the way you've gone about it, that process, the focus on transformation, that's just perfect for us. The whole way it's been done, the kind of reveal, the tease, the viral campaign, the revealing in the media, absolutely perfect for us. But the nice thing is that at the end of it, there's this incredible artifact. You know? So for us as a festival, I think a little bit like you as an art group, it's the event, it's the happening, it's the whole thing that's the work, But how often do we as a festival, probably maybe a little bit more often for you, we don't often leave such a mark. A lot of the work we engage with is quite ephemeral, and it's incredible to have this here in the Shark project, which is going to have so many creative, amazing people working in here, and it's a fantastic legacy for the project and for the city.
I've said before, and I sort of have problems with a lot of people who galleries approach us quite a lot. I have a lot of contemporary art galleries wanting to represent us and trying to get involved. We always say no because we're about doing our own thing. But there's a couple of galleries that I think get us. And we always have the initial conversation with the gallerist or the curator saying, what was your last project? We have to think about it and say, wasn't it here? It was that. Well, don't you know? You know what it was? No. Once we finished a project, we move on from it, and we're about creating something else after it. And the reason that we move on for it is because we hand over ownership of the artwork to the people who are going to use the space. And to me, there are going to be people who really get what we've done here using this space. And it really was something that was so important to us deciding to do this. And even to where it is within the space, I'm so pleased to have it in an area where there's going to be other creative industries around it. And I like to think if somebody looks at this every day, it might give them a bit of inspiration. You know, I don't know, it's a bit of an ego thing, but it might do. It might do. And it is all about legacy for us. It really, really is. And if I was to be driving past here in a few years' time, I'm definitely going to ring on the doorbell and say, how's it going? You know, what do you guys think? And I'll pester people to tell me what they think about it. But a lot of people do have, you know, maybe more in the traditional arts areas, have a problem with us being very dry and have a cutting off point with what we do.
And not seeing the artwork as a product afterwards.
Exactly. And there is always this dichotomy of being an artist that works maybe out on the street, that is for other people to look at, and people thinking, I can sell probably what you do in a gallery. Now, I mean, we do sell in galleries, and some of us very successfully, but that is a very separate entity to what we do in this type of area. And I think for a lot of contemporary arts sort of beliefs, that's a problem. And I think it's a problem that I hope we can address as an arts movement and an arts group.
Well, I think, you know, you have left this tangible legacy for people here, but, you know, I have a feeling that you've also left a story, and I have a sneaking suspicion that everyone who passes through this space will hear that story and be told that story, and that this is going to kind of live on in this building. So, you know, congratulations. Fantastic piece of work.
Thank you.
Cool.